The biggest losers of the NFL offseason, we believe these teams did not do much or made the wrong moves. We did our winners last week, so make sure you guys check out that video. But let's get into my first big loser. In my opinion, the biggest loser of the offseason, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason why I'm saying that is they did not do much at all. They lost Travis Etienne, did not replace him, right? They're going to be relying on Tootin at the moment. We'll see what they do in the draft. And overall, I think Houston at the end of the day still got better. Tennessee is not going to be at their level, but they got better. Indy, they're at least in the middle for now. But the reason why I'm saying is the Jags had a really good year last year. We were thinking they were your potential Super Bowl favorite out of the AFC coming out of it. And Trevor Lawrence had a really good year. I don't think he's going to take a step back. But overall, I just think that with Houston, I think getting better. They added some O-line pieces. They obviously added Reed Blankenship to their already stacked defense. I just think it was a bad time not to take advantage of this because of how still the division is meh, but you still want to be in contention with the Houston Texans.
Additionally, adding on to that Travis Etienne point, they also lost Devin Lloyd, who was basically their big piece on defense. Last year when you looked at Jacksonville Jaguars defensive studs, you looked at Josh Allen. The next person that pops up, Devin Lloyd. And Devin Lloyd is now a Panther who was a winner for us because they got Devin Lloyd and they needed a linebacker. So defensively, they got weaker. Offensively, they got weaker with losing Travis Etienne. So they lost two key pieces on each side of the ball.
They also lost Greg Newsome, the guy they traded for during the year as well, who's a solid corner, and he's gone to the Giants.
So far this offseason, all they have done is gone weaker. And I know there's still a draft and they could obviously fix it and end up having a W offseason. And that goes to the rest of the teams on this list as well. But as of right now, they did not do anything to improve. They got worse, and they got worse by losing three key starters, in my opinion. Two on defense, obviously one on offense with Travis Etienne. One point I want to make is they're are in a more difficult spot because when you look at teams like the New England Patriots, Washington Commanders, even like the Chiefs when early Mahomes, same with especially the Bengals who made the Super Bowl, all those quarterbacks were under rookie deals. Trevor Lawrence panned out this year with his obviously big contract. So it is difficult to add players. It's not impossible because the Baltimore Ravens have done a lot with the Lamar.
You could finesse the NFL cap to a certain extent.
You could obviously finesse it to an extent, but what I'm trying to say is that they are in a more difficult position than like the New England Patriots because Drake May is on a rookie deal, right? Whereas Trevor Lawrence kind of broke out this year. So that's one excuse I could give him, but that's not enough just because, like you mentioned, the Houston Texans got better. The AFC, it should be competitive. The Chiefs should be back.
Yeah.
But overall, like you said, this is a team that just literally, I think the team that probably lost the most, in my opinion.
Yeah, so again, they replaced Travis Etienne by bringing in a guy by Chris Rodriguez Jr. I think obviously Etienne is the better running back. I know he had a down year the year before, had a really good start to last year.
But you gotta look at it this way. Like, I know, he wasn't great the year before, but just the impact these players made, right? Yeah. Travis Etienne, he got in the end zone as well. Devin Lloyd, the impact he made defensively.
He was arguably early defensive player of the year favorite.
And then Greg Newsome, you traded away one of your better cornerbacks in Tyson Campbell to get Greg Newsome, and now Greg Newsome's gone, and now you don't have both.
Yeah.
So the impact, there's going to be an impact. Now, can they draft well to fix that? I don't know. At the end of the day, I trust Liam Cohen now, for sure, for the turnaround he has made. But
do you trust Trevor Lawrence now with Liam Cohen after what he showed last year?
Yeah, I will back that. I feel like you said, if there is a fall off, it shouldn't be a big fall off. Whereas the teams are gonna be dropping completely out of the playoff race. I still believe that Jacksonville is gonna be a playoff.
There still should be in the playoff race, for the division as well,
and contend for the division title. But the point we're trying to make here is that they lost 3 impact players, and all they've done this offseason so far
is add Chris Rodriguez Jr.
Not that. It just get weaker.
Yeah, so overall, if you look at the division, you back Houston more than Jacksonville, right? And I'm pretty sure you back the 2 teams from the East. You back most of the teams from this in the North. Like
Yes.
at least three other teams. And even like the one big loser, well, they're not actually a big loser anymore, was Denver, who like Jacksonville didn't do anything until they added Jalen Waddle. So they even leveled up to help out Bo Nix even more. We expect the Chargers to still be at the same level, and obviously Kansas City to bounce back, and even Raiders might make a noise. So it's a little bit tough. But ultimately, the one last thing I do want to add is these guys is very peculiar that they're trying to get rid of BTJ. Especially as low value. I think they have come out and said they're not trading him though, which is good. Like I saw rumors about 5th round pick, and I'm like, this guy was
crazy.
This guy was arguably on that JSN trajectory in his rookie year, and then obviously took a very big step back last year. I think he should be able to figure it out. If not, then yeah, move off of him, because you added a guy like Jacoby Myers, and you obviously could draft other people. I get that, but giving up on a talent like BTJ to help out your offense even more is still kind of mind blowing. But you didn't do that, so I'm not gonna put that against you.
You can't put that against him.
But you're thinking about it was the only question I had for you. Next loser, your turn.
Detroit Lions, and this isn't necessarily about like how their roster is. Look, they're going to be similar roster. I expect them to make the playoffs because their schedule should be a little bit easier compared to their the other teams in the AFC North, because they finished last place. So they get Arizona instead of like San Francisco or Seattle, right? And like same goes for the other divisions that they're going to be facing. But the one thing is their defensive coordinator did a better job than expected. Like,
yeah, considering all the injuries.
Exactly. And on top of that, like, he had to replace Aaron Glenn. And I felt like he, filled that void enough. Offensively, they did not fill the void. Ben Johnson was a massive loss.
Yeah.
And at replacing that offensive coordinator with a guy from Arizona.
Drew Petzing.
Drew
Petzing.
Petzing.
Yeah.
Look, I just don't feel comfortable with adding any coach from Arizona. I'll be honest with you. Especially when they had to fire their
Jonathan Gannon
their staff, basically, right? So offensively, I'm not going to be excited because they did have issues last year. I'm not going to expect them to get that. I'm not expecting that to get fixed right away. They trade away David Montgomery. They're letting Jahmyr Gibbs take over the whole entire backfield. No issues with that at the end of the day. Like, obviously, that duo was a big part of it. And I felt like David Montgomery did deserve more touches. And I felt like it's valid that he wanted, or like would have wanted out. But at the end of the day, you have Jahmyr Gibbs taking over the backfield. Running game wise, you should be fine. Like, offensively, you have the talent, all those things. So there's no issue with talent. It's just that who's going to be running it, I just don't back a coach from Arizona. Yeah, so it's just simple as that. And then one last point I want to add in defensively. This is not necessarily, this is just personally what I wanted. It was just a proper partner for Aiden Hutchinson. And
Max Crosby's still potentially available after the Baltimore rejection.
Exactly.
So.
But again, they have one of the best safety tandems in Branch and Kirby Joseph. Like, they do have talented players in them defensively, but it just feels like to me, if like Aiden Hutchinson goes down, this defense might possibly crumble. Yeah. And it's not like the Brian Branch always stays healthy either. So their studs do get injured quite often, which is obviously a concern. But getting a partner for Aiden Hutchinson, I felt like could have just helped them really dominate defensively, because their cornerbacks aren't the greatest. Their safeties are good, but a way to fix that is if you have like two. It doesn't have to be Max Crosby level, right? Like, it could be like
Jalen Phillips level.
Like, yeah, Jalen Phillips level, Odafe Owe level type of thing. Yeah. And I know they went for big money in free agency, but just someone that could do their own one-on-ones so that Aiden Hutchinson is not getting the whole everyone's. Or
if he does get double teamed, that you could win your battle and get to the quarterback. Yeah. So like, here's the thing, right? I don't like the Drew Petzing thing. I don't know how much of that is a Kyler Murray situation. I don't know how much of because they got there. You had Trey McBride, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and like James Conner before he got hurt was still a solid enough running back with Kyler Murray. You weren't able to make that work for the most part. Obviously, losing David Montgomery is big. Sucks that he's a Texan, because obviously that means he's in the South. The reason why I also have him as a bigger loser is because, they replaced him with Pacheco. Sure, Pacheco has been injury prone for the Chiefs. He's not Montgomery level at all. But that division is the toughest. I think it's going to be top to bottom, right? Like, I know the NFC West is solid, but there's 3 out of 4 teams that are solid. I think this one, 4 out of 4 teams are solid, right? Speaking of Kyler Murray, he's now the new quarterback for Minnesota. In our opinion, should win that job easily. they should level up. They finished ahead of you guys in general. Green Bay, I know again, a lot of teams are looking at the compensation picks and stuff. I don't know, like, I'm not going to get too much into that. Green Bay's still going to be a solid enough team, and Chicago is still a similar team to last year as well. If not, these guys are going to take steps forward for the most part. The question with Detroit ultimately comes down to is, the reason why you traded away David Montgomery is you're probably going to make Jahmyr Gibbs the highest paid running back. Either you guys are at least going to set the tone for Bijan to get whatever he's going to get paid, or if Bijan does get it, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to obviously command whatever he got, maybe slightly more. Like for example, JSN got paid heavily. We're expecting Puka to up it right at the end of the day. So that division just being tough, and then you're gonna eventually spend more money on Jahmyr Gibbs. And the other thing is, how much do you have left with Jared Goff? Right? Like, ultimately, he took a step back last year. Let's face it. Jared Goff's a really steady quarterback. There's a reason why Sean McVay had to get rid of him and gave up an extra first-round pick on. Was that a little too excessive? Sure. Like, at the end of the day, he's still a good enough quarterback. He's a starting enough quarterback. So pressure's on you guys next year, in my personal opinion. Like, you're already in a tough division. You're going to face... Yeah, you don't have to... You may not have to worry about other wildcard teams in maybe the East, depending on what Washington and Dallas do, and then obviously definitely not from the South. But to even be a wild card team is tough because, like I said, the NFC West is goated with the Seahawks, Rams, and the Niners over there. So overall, like, the pressure is on heavy for these guys because you could say their window's slowly closing. Because
100%.
Once Jared Goff is officially off the market, you have to figure out your quarterback situation. Whether that be you take a chance on Kyler Murray if he bounces back next year and he goes to your team next year. I don't know what the case is going to be overall. But your window's definitely closing compared to the other teams in your division, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So I won't mind them sacrificing some futures just to really upgrade their team right now because of that reason as well.
So my next loser, I think this is where we were slightly off camera disagreeing a little bit, like who's the bigger one. I'll put it out there. This is a team that I like to follow because Justin Herbert is probably my favorite quarterback in the NFL, and that's the LA Chargers. The reason why I have them as a loser is because they created so much cap space that they didn't use it much. The reason why I'm saying, okay, listen, they addressed their center position by adding Tyler. Say the name. Biadasz. For me, I thought it was a different pronunciation. From Washington, obviously, that's a big addition, at least to your center spot. Obviously, we were very big advocates for these guys to go get Tyler Linderbaum. That's fine. He's still a solid enough center. You're banking on, obviously, both Slater and Alt to be healthy. That's probably up there as the two best tackle duos in the NFL. I don't know how many are really better than them, right? Like, at least on the top of your head, top 5.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
But the question is, your run game struggled because your interior was awful. Your O-line was terrible. Listen, just put on the highlights from the wild card weekend when they played the Patriots in general, right? Justin Herbert could not get the ball out of his hands. Could he have played better? Different story. I get that. But like in general, you did not do him any favors. So like, yes, that part is like, okay, there were players available. Why didn't you get these guys, right? It's like Wyatt Teller or whoever else was going to be available. You did not get them. Shout out Houston. They ended up getting Wyatt Teller to at least help CJ Stroud out there. So that's part one of the thing. Like defensively, I don't hate the moves of the debate. Like Odafe always was going to get paid regardless, right? It was tough. Khalil Mack, you brought back Tyler Tart, you bring back Cavani Vidal. Obviously, you try to help your protection by having Alec Ingold. Obviously, you're taking a chance on Cole Strange, who didn't work out in New England, I believe. And the other slight factor, I'm going to put him in a slightly loser section, not as big as the other two teams we talked about, is, yes, Ladd McConkey was really good for them. Obviously, you're hoping for a second run from Trey Harris. Keenan Allen played last year, right, for them?
Yes.
Is he still a free agent? Is he a free agent or did he sign 2 years or something? Because this might affect I'll double check that. But I was hoping that they could maybe get another pass catcher, like if at that Keenan Allen level minimum. That's all. Like, I'm not saying these guys are a big loser. Like, I don't hate the moves they made necessarily. It's just like you made all the cap space moves, but not getting those big names like you did last year when you took a chance on Mekhi Becton and all these guys.
I have Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a bigger loser because the biggest difference is the Chargers tried to do something. In my opinion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't really do much. And on top of that, they lost Mike Evans. So if I'm looking at it, I'm liking the Chargers wide receiver room led by Ladd McConkey more than at the moment then Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin. Number one, Chris Godwin, injury issues. And it's not like Mike Evans has his injury issues as well. So I'm not saying that like, but at the end of the day, Mike Evans is goddamn talented, right? Emeka Egbuka had a great first half, not so great second half. Lad McConkey, kind of the reverse. Like he finished off pretty strong, but he wasn't that great in the first half of the season. Quentin Johnson had a better season as well than before.
How much do you trust that though?
Again, Lad McConkey's the guy. Like we know Lad McConkey is a good wide receiver. In my opinion, the jury's still out on Egbuka. Just because it was one season and it was basically half a season.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who do you have more promise in, Lad McConkey to keep going, like take us another step forward? Or do you expect first half Egbuka to be the guy now that he is going to be the guy for this team?
But isn't that where the issue stemmed from? Because Evans and Godwin became...
Because we got hurt.
They got extended. They were out for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And then Egbuka in the first half was more of a surprise. We're like, oh, this guy's good. But then as he became more and more of the focus, his production went lower and lower. Right, with Evans and Godwin being out because he was the guy. With McConkey, at the end of the day, he's put together a few years now where he has been very steady, very solid, second round draft pick who is a good wide receiver. Like he may not be that perfect wide receiver one, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But if you pair him up with someone, you could get away with him being your wide receiver one. So for that, in that case, at this moment, and I'm not saying Egbuka is gonna. Like at the end of the day, he is still talented. He could still emerge for sure. But at this moment, I will back Lad McConkey. And then other things, I just felt like for me, Tampa Bay, I just feel like they need to do something just because the Panthers are catching up as well.
Division's awful.
Division's awful. So like you're always gonna have a chance of making the playoffs. But the Panthers have caught up. Panthers, in my opinion, have a winning offseason as well.
And you don't know what to expect from the Falcons either with now Kevin Stefanski.
Exactly. So in this case, like obviously I felt like the Baker's fall off was, in my opinion, I am going to bank it on injury than ability, right?
Yeah.
Like I know Baker obviously has a history where he's been pretty inconsistent. But for this one, I'm going to put it on the injury. I feel like he was hurt or playing hurt at least. And then hopefully having Tristan Wirtz healthy for a whole season will be a massive, obviously, boost for their offense. But the questions I have is how much can Egbuka step up and take over ownership of that wide receiver one role? That's number one. Number two, defensively, they were all right. And number three, how much was it Baker's injury or how much was it he might be declining as well?
I mean,
and then
the amount of damage he takes is
exactly. He takes a lot of damage. And then the fourth reason was the Panthers just got better and they addressed their weaknesses. So it's not just Tampa Bay and everyone in the South anymore. The Panthers have arrived, in my opinion. And that guaranteed playoff spot that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should have had this past offseason or this past season is not looking so much guaranteed anymore.
Yeah, and then like to just to make it clear to everyone, this is obviously pre-draft. Like stuff can change after the draft to see like how it is because we're not draft experts and we're not going to sit here and say go out and get this guy and this guy.
Yeah. But one thing I'm going to say is you guys comment down below because this is where we have a disagree. Who's the bigger loser in the offseason? The Chargers or the Buccaneers?
So my one case for the Chargers is they're in a tougher division, whereas the Buccaneers are at least still in a somewhat weaker division that they could still get into the playoffs. Now, are they going to make noise in the playoffs? Probably not. Are the Chargers going to make noise in the playoffs? Depending on how their O-line holds up, probably not as well. So
that's for you guys. Should comment down below. Who's the bigger loser so far, the Buccaneers or the Chargers? But we have one team to wrap this all up. And it's not an NFL video or NFL offseason video if we are not bashing our own team of how they're doing in the offseason, and that is the Indianapolis Colts.
So here's the thing. We made a winners video last week. Obviously, we didn't talk about them. Otherwise, we would have mentioned it. We're making a losers video. We are leaning more losers. Now, we are definitely not like, oh, they're Jacksonville Jaguars level loser. So here's what the Colts have done so far. This offseason started off terrible with a massive risk Chris Ballard has took by instead of tagging Pierce, he tagged
Daniel Jones.
But it ended up working out ultimately because they were able to sign Pierce long-term. Overpay. I agree with that. Don't get me wrong. It still is a risk of a contract, but ultimately you have to do it. He was still a solid enough wide receiver that I'm going to bank on that he'll take a step forward. And then you've got a contract done with Daniel Jones, which is not a not a bad contract. 2 years, I'll take it. Yes, if you're looking at the AAV, it's massive, 44 million coming off an Achilles injury. But the contract structure is what you got to look down, which is why when we mentioned earlier, NFL contracts can be finessed to a certain extent. Like for example, if Sam Darnold shot the bed for the Seattle Seahawks this year, they would have been able to get off the contract
Exactly,
easily,
yeah.
right. So that's part one. So far, not too bad. But one thing I'm going to give him credit for, then I'll let you take over the parts where he needed to go over, is that he didn't make the mistake of doubling down like he did a couple of years ago. He moved off of Zaire Franklin.
Yes.
He moved off of Kwity Paye. He moved off of Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. and Zaire Franklin strictly because they actually had to trade him, and they were able to get a solid piece in return for Zaire Franklin. And Michael Pittman Jr. was a straight up cap dump. Like, as much as me and you love Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah.
Like we didn't want him to leave. But at the end of the day, for $29 million on the cap, that's a lot of money for a guy that regressed last year, who, similar to like Baker, takes a lot of hits, plays physical. Perfect fit for Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
we'll see what
exactly.
that happens.
But
so his start was not bad. Now I'll let you take over what happened.
One last thing I want to say about the Pittman thing. The good news is, okay, the wide receiver and the pass catching weapons group is not weaker than last year just because Pittman didn't do anything last year.
Yeah.
Right? But the potential to be great is definitely lower just because we know that Pittman earned that contract at the end of the day, like the way he played before.
And he was slight underpaid when he did get that at the time.
At that time, yes. So then obviously that money goes to Pierce. Hopefully he could keep doing what he has been doing the last couple of years. Hopefully Josh Downs can elevate. But you got Tyler Warren now, who obviously is going to be an impact, should be more of an impact in the pass catching game as well. JT at running back. So offensively, you're still looking at this team as a very talented, solid offensive team as long as Daniel Jones is healthy and does what he does in the first half of the season. The issues is defensively. There's rumors that Trey Hendrickson would have been ours if Baltimore Ravens didn't do their bullshit, but at the end of the day, I never ever trust Christopher Ballard because I never ever think he's ever in a race of signing someone good. That's just his tenure.
I mean, to be fair, last year he did get Charvarius Ward and Combine.
Yeah. So,
which is what you expected to happen this year.
Exactly,
in terms of the other positions.
I guess he tried, so I'll give him that. But right now, when you're looking at the edge rushers, you're looking at Leatu Latu and everyone else, and Leatu Latu himself is not convincing as a starter so far as an edge rusher.
He's a guy you would want to pair with Aiden Hutchinson.
Exactly, like a guy with a pair, yes.
Yeah.
Linebackers.
Probably worse in the NFL.
I have no idea who they are, except for Jalen Carlisle.
That's it. Yeah,
exactly.
Alubi's gone.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea who linebackers are. I could not tell you.
Listen, Zaire Franklin, I'm going to say one thing with Zaire Franklin. I know his tenure in terms of reputation with the Colts did not end at the greatest. He was still a really good
he was
linebacker
good,
for us.
yeah.
Really good draft find. He's going to be fine for the Green Bay Packers. I do want to say, like, we, as much as we did bash him, it was just that he did a lot of talking and not a lot of walking.
His mouth got him in trouble.
That's it, right? Like, otherwise, his ability, he's still a solid player. I just want to get that out of the way. But losing him is still, and not replacing him is a very
Yeah, no, like, at the end of the day, like, I'd rather have Zaire and then not have Zaire and not have a replacement for him.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like you said, there's still the draft. There's a couple good pieces in the draft,
but we don't have a
linebacker-wise.
first round pick.
But this is going to be a second round. Like, Jack Lode is probably projected second round, same with Jacob Rodriguez, right? Hopefully, if one of them falls to third round, that'll be like an absolute steal.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. And I believe Jacob Rodriguez was a Heisman nominee as well this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So he also had an incredible season. Cornerbacks. Potentially one of the best rooms.
Probably top 5.
Probably top 5. You have Sauce Gardner.
Like secondary in general.
Yeah. I guess, I'll give it to him.
I mean, you're missing Nick Cross, to be fair, but yeah.
Sauce Gardner, stud cornerback. Charvarius Ward, if he's healthy and playing, very, like, probably you would take as one of the best number 2s. He deserves to be a number 1 on his own team, right? Then you add in Cam Taylor-Britt, who was a solid for Cincinnati, and obviously he has that relationship with Lou Anarumo. You have Kenny Moore, who's still a stud nickel cornerback in this league. I don't think Jalen Jones will be playing anymore for Indianapolis.
You're banking on Justin Wally.
And then hopefully,
that promising guy.
If Justin Wally bounces back like he was playing in training camp and bounces back from his ACL injury, you have studs there. Then you have the safeties, Cam Bynum, stud pickup, nothing bad to say about him. Strong safety, you lost Nick Cross. Nick Cross is going to be an impact loss, in my opinion. And I would have done everything to have re-signed them. But there's also couple other safeties that went for a little bit cheaper. The biggest one I was going after was Jaquan Brisker, who I thought Pittsburgh got him for a steal. And Jaquan Brisker is also pretty young. I believe he's 25 or 26. So it's not like he's like some aging guy. You could still go after some aging guys. Like I believe Harrison Smith is a free agent. So he could be an option.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm missing on anyone else, but you're banking on Hunter Wohler, who's I believe a 7th round pick. Again, like Justin Wally last year, showed promise in the training camp, but he also sustained a season-ending injury. That's why you haven't seen him take a snap yet. The concern that I have is that we basically have right now we need two starting lineup backers, not just two starting linebackers, a starting strong safety, and a starting edge. And the players that are in the place right now of those guys are basically 4 players that I don't think have taken a snap in this past season in the NFL.
Yeah. So like for me, listen, you added a lot of good depth pieces. Arden Key's a solid depth piece. The guy loves to stay in the AFC South for whatever reason, but he's a solid depth piece. You might make money because Simone Biles will be showing up at the games a lot because you got her husband and Jonathan Owens, who's a special teamer at best, but he's obviously trying to win that safety position. We'll see what ends up happening. And Michael Clemens is another depth guy you got from the Jets. We'll see.
Like D-tackle, you had a lot of depth there as well.
So at the end of the day, here's the problem. You didn't we expected to be a little bit, not I don't say super reckless, but like
one point I want to add,
kind of desperate to make some moves.
That little bit, just because like it better be his last year if
it doesn't
you don't
work
make the
out,
playoff. Yeah. But one point is that like I guess teams like the Jaguars and other teams that we mentioned in this video have the draft have their first round pick and have the draft capital, whereas we don't have that draft capital or like that enough picks in the top 100 or the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Like we do have still 7 picks, right? Like 1 for each round, but like we don't have the
and
first
it's Ballard,
round.
he's gonna trade down to get more picks.
So again, it is a little bit more difficult to fill in through the draft just because the picks aren't there.
So like the other thing, last thing I want to address is you do lose Braden Smith. You're banking on Jalen Travis to be the guy who was fine when he did step in. Braden Smith injuries and all that kind of derailed him the last couple of years. Sucks that he's a Texan, but overall, like you need to add also depth on the line.
Yes,
like, on the offensive line, in my personal opinion as well. But overall, like I said, it's a mixed reaction. The Colts, we're just talking about them because this is our chance to talk about them. They're not necessarily the biggest loser, but they are big concerns if you want to expect this team to make the playoffs next year because there's still question marks at quarterback to see what Daniel Jones' health is going to be. There is a question mark with giving Alec Pierce a big contract. And then there's a lot of questions on the defensive side where you want to help Lou Anarumo because now Lou Anarumo's not going to look great if the team doesn't perform. It's going to be Cincinnati all over again. And we'll see what ends up happening. But that pretty much wraps it up for us. These are our biggest losers. Like I said, popping up on the screen is our biggest winners from last week. So you guys should check out that video. Hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 200 subscribers. We also drop TikToks, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. So you guys don't want to miss those challenge videos we drop over there as well. Comment down below your biggest loser between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the LA Chargers, and even any teams we just missed that you think is a loser as well. Other than that, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.